Prime Minister Mark Carney's focus on making Canada an energy superpower and its emphasis on infrastructure requires a huge commitment of money and effort, but it's a tall order when it comes to how to build this needed infrastructure both quickly and efficiently. Jay Khosla is the Executive Director for Economic and Energy Policy with the Public Policy Forum and joins us now to talk some more about this. Thanks for your time today.
Pleasure to be here.
We've heard this song before, as you know, that infrastructure needs to be built and commitments to build it. I'm wondering whether you put stock into this. Do you think that this government under Mark Carney will get it done?
Yeah, I think it's feasible and achievable. Some early signs are positive, but it takes a lot of effort, accountability, and governance to move these things forward. We've had success in our history, small ones, but we need to kind of have a stick-to-itiveness around this, that not only the Prime Minister, but I would say the premiers, and most importantly, the bureaucracy and the private sector working in concert as a complete dedicated force to moving these projects forward.
So we heard in this throne speech some mention of fast-tracking these processes. I'm wondering if you liked what you heard there, and if you could also speak to what are the biggest impediments to getting something like this done.
I liked a lot of what I heard. Let's go to the 30,000-foot level and then move down from there. The first thing is, really, the country has to be dedicated to boosting its GDP per capita status in the global economy. We cannot allow ourselves to continue to be ranked 40 out of 41 countries and expect that we can sit and attract capital if that's happening. And really the goal is to attract capital into our system and investment dollars, which have completely dried up. The second thing I liked, which I think I'm hearing, is that the government and all governments want to focus on shifting the balance of our economic target, meaning that, we have a consumption-based economy. That will always be, a services-based economy. But we seem to have ignored our production elements, meaning energy, mining, agriculture, forestry, and the government is targeting those areas. I think the third thing that I sort of like that I heard is that there's going to be a focus on specific projects. And I think that's where everybody can come together in the country. We do have a backlog of these projects. Natural Resources Canada, and when I was there for 10 years working on energy, we kept a log, and there's about at least 600 billion worth of projects that can be unlocked. And I see that the premiers are coming to Saskatoon next week to give a list of some of these. So those are all great things. I think, in order to get this done, my perspective is that it takes a lot of dedication to force. And this has to be the number one priority. In other words, once you name those projects, the question is, what do you do after that? And the Public Policy Forum, of which I'm a part, just put out what we call a playbook. We have 10 essential steps that we think the government should follow after doing all of this great visioning exercise that gets that stick-to-itiveness. In other words, each project deserves...
let me ask you then. You mentioned 10 different things. What are the one or two that you see as the most urgent?
I think the most important is to bring together financing, regulatory, Indigenous economic participation, and enabling infrastructure as key components that need to be reviewed. Each project needs to stand on its own merits. And we sometimes think these are homogeneous. I do not think it's effective to just focus on the regulatory system, which seems to be the number one issue that comes up over and over and over again. I do think projects can be done in 2 years. LNG Canada, the single biggest investment in this space that ever occurred, is $60 billion came into Canada, and we're about to send our LNG globally, which is great. It took 2 years to review. It also took, though, people forget, it took governments to come together a bit on the financing side. And generally in this country, big projects don't move forward unless governments are involving themselves directly in the books and trying to find small ways, not huge amounts of taxpayer dollars, but small ways to move these projects forward. In the case of LNG Canada, the federal government provided $250 million, which unlocked $60 billion. So it's about bringing together the financing, the regulatory, which was done in 2 years, the financing was done in 2 years, the Indigenous economic participation is terrific around that, and the consultation. You've got a lot of Indigenous organizations. I think about Chief Crystal Smith. I think about Karen Ogan out there, who are very supportive of that development. And finally, we put the pipeline that brought the gas to the terminal together. That means we have to look at these projects as a system and give them liftoff. So if we could do the production facility, but if we didn't have the gas coming in, that would be kind of ineffective. So that was a good example of what we can do. And each of those projects that come forward need that kind of dedication to cause.
Okay, so you touched on this, and I'm wondering if you could expand. You have the leadership in the federal government that's saying the right things. We have to see if they're going to do the right things along this line. But what about the provinces, right? Not all the provinces have been on board with this kind of build out in the past. Quebec is one of them. In order to get resources to that coast, they would have to be on board. Do you expect more resistance from provinces, or do you see things changing at the provincial level as well?
It's evident to me that things are changing. And the reason they are changing is basically because of what's happened in the United States and how they're impacting us with their tariff actions. And I think that's a wake-up call. Market access is critical for this country. We've got a clogged port in Vancouver. That's not a good way of doing business. If we want to sort of diversify our markets, I do definitely see moves in Quebec where they're bringing projects forward now. And I think that, the country can get behind it. Look at the province of BC. It's a perfect example. Premier Eby, NDP Premier to boot, is actually already highlighted 20 projects that he wants to put forward, including renewables and conventional sources of energy. And that's a direct reaction and an immediate reaction to what Donald Trump's doing. I expect all provinces will be on board for this. It's the one area we can coalesce fully aside from the politics of things. And really, it's about governments and officials coming together to run the system effectively. And that's where I worry. Do we have a deputy minister committee that includes the provinces, for example, to move these projects forward, that is watching over them on a weekly and monthly basis, making sure that wherever there's a roadblock, a stopgap, that they deal with it quickly? And I think that's really where we can work with, meaning the federal government and the country can work together with the provinces to move things forward.
All right, Jay, I do have to leave the conversation there. Jay Khosla is the Executive Director of Economic and Energy Policy with the Public Policy Forum. Thanks for your time today.